testing whether pace was basically all that mattered on Football Manager 26. The idea was simple. I added a group of real players to Chippenham Town whose only outstanding attributes were pace and acceleration. Everything else was pretty rubbish, truth be told, but what happened next was honestly quite ridiculous. Chippenham Town went from the National League South all the way to the Premier League with 5 promotions in 5 seasons, winning the league 4 times along the way, back-to-back promotions. I felt pretty confident saying I'd proved my point. Pace is king on FM26. However, the internet said otherwise, so I'm back to conduct the experiment properly. Please stick around as we find out exactly how overpowered pace and acceleration are in FM26. Alright, let's get into it. After posting the video series on Reddit stating pace was all that matters in FM26, a number of people disagreed. Some disagreed politely, others less so. One of the more concise criticisms came from Redditor Dendy5416, who said it was a poorly designed experiment and that all it showed was the players with great pace and acceleration and a number of other good stats will outperform other players, all while using a knowingly broken tactic.
Alrighty then.
Another user, KN17K3, asked, "Why are you using a broken tactic to do the experiment? You can't define if the results are because of the attributes or the tactic used. Fair question?"
I don't know!
Then Graham Thompson weighed in very reasonably, pointing out that the players I chose had more than just pace. They also had strength, balance, agility, and he imagined they all had some form of dribbling, passing, shooting as well. And yes, Graham, they did. They are footballers. But he did go on to add that to actually test this properly, I'd need to edit the players' attributes, remove traits, and isolate only the attributes I care about. Ambitious Ad6504 arrived to finish me off. He said I'd failed to remove bias, that I couldn't possibly know what impact the other stats had if I hadn't removed them from the equation, and that he was sorry to tell me that my experiment was baseless with the method I used. Strong words. Also, special mention to Gerberin, who commented, "Oh look, the guy with the toilet tests is back. Please do the world a favour, leave again and never come back." Charming. But here I am again, and thanks for watching. Before we go any further, let me show you a quick text exchange with my brother, Draven.
Is it not just the formation that makes you win with your pace boys? Surely if only pace matters, then any formation would work. And have you tried a slow team using that tactic?
So anyway, there were 2 clear themes in the criticism. First, the tactic is broken and any team would win the league using it, except Everton probably. Second, the players had more than just pace and acceleration. Both are fair observations. So what if I did it again properly? This time with a completely new group of creative players built specifically to answer one question. Are pace and acceleration the most important attributes in FM26? Actually, let's do that again for some YouTube clout.
Are pace and acceleration the most important attributes in Football Manager 26?
Close enough. I decided to run 3 leagues concurrently, side by side. In the first database, every outfield player will have 20 pace and 20 acceleration. Everything else will be 1, or as low as the game will allow, because we all know the pre-game editor is an experience to say the least. Look at that. So I created a whole squad.
Everyone looking straight ahead. Big smiles for the camera. Hold it steady.
But then I thought, what if pace and acceleration aren't the only thing that matters? What if there's a second tier of attributes doing a lot of the heavy lifting? So I built a second database using the research from Harvest Green 22 on FM Arena. This is the guy who ran tens of thousands of matches, testing attribute impact in isolation. His findings were clear. Pace and acceleration were the two most impactful attributes for every outfield player. But after those, there was a secondary layer. So in this second database, pace and acceleration stay at 1. Instead, every player gets 20 balance, and then one other 20 rated attribute. Depending on position, centre backs get 20 jumping reach, wing backs get 20 dribbling, central midfielders get 20 anticipation, wingers get 20 dribbling, and the main goal threat gets 20 composure. Surely running these two leagues side by side like this, primary meta versus secondary overpowered attributes, would tell us whether speed is really the only thing that matters, right? But then I realized exactly what would happen next. People would say, those secondary attributes are nonsense. Why would a wingback care about balance? Why anticipation for midfielders? And so on. And honestly, fair enough. So I added a third database. I ran a poll on r/Football Manager games, asking the community which attributes they believe matter most for each position. I'm not testing goalkeepers. I already know Moise Ramirez is the best goalkeeper in the game. Let's focus on outfield players. I waited to have enough comments or votes to make it viable, and then totted the numbers up. These are the attributes the FM community voted as the two most important for each position. Central defenders get 20 jumping reach and 20 strength. Wingbacks get 20 crossing and 20 work rate. Central midfielders get 20 passing and 20 work rate. Wingers get 20 dribbling and 20 crossing. And the main goal threat gets 20 composure and 20 off the ball. Boom. So quick recap for anyone who drifted off. I'm running 3 saves side by side. In the first database, or universe, A, every player has 20 pace and 20 acceleration. That's it. In the second database, or universe B, every player has 2 attributes at 20, based on FM Arena's secondary meta attributes for each position. And in the third database, or universe C, every player has 2 attributes at 20, chosen entirely by Reddit, depending on their position. Every other attribute that has not been mentioned will be set to 1. The funny thing is, I didn't even plan to make 3 databases. I created the pace monsters in database 1, simulated 15 games before going to bed, and noticed Chippenham sitting top of the league, despite being absolutely dreadful at almost everything except running fast. But then I remembered the second big criticism, other than the attributes not being properly controlled: the tactic. The broken super tactic that would apparently make anyone, except Everton, win their league. And to make things worse, a new meta tactic had dropped since my original videos. Apparently it's even better than Kickback Strikerless version 7. It's called Argus 26MT3430 P107AC. I have no idea what that means, but it tested better than the last one, so in it went to my experiment. Same formation, more points, even more broken, so maybe it really was just the tactic. Maybe you could use this shape with literally anyone and win every league forever, and that's where Universe B and Universe C come in. If the tactic alone is responsible, then it should win, with pace-only players, and with FM Arena secondary attribute players, and with Reddit-chosen attribute players, and even with the default Chippenham Town squad as well. Because, as Draven asked in that text, isn't it just the broken tactic doing all the work?
Is it not just the formation that makes you win with your pace boys?
Let's find out, I guess.
Since you've watched this far, why not like and subscribe to Baz Got Banned?
Apologies for that little plug, but if you could all give Baz Got Banned a follow on YouTube or share this video on your socials, I'd really appreciate it. And if any of the FM content legends, I'm mainly looking at New Zealand, want to do a feature on my experiment, I'd be eternally grateful for the coverage, lads. Anyway, let me introduce you to the new squad down at Hardenhuish Park. They're all learning the new meta tactic across all 3 databases. As in my last videos, we've got Ecuador's number 2 between the sticks. His agility, reflexes, pace, and acceleration make him my go-to goalie for things like this. He's untouchable. Oh, and shout out to Sean O'Driscoll, of course. Love you, Papa. So, Moyes Ramirez is the only player anywhere near good enough for this league, I can promise you that. Of course it's taken me back here. This game, man. Our backup keeper is Tereapi Ngeru from the Cook Islands, signed from Avatu FC, and very much here for vibes rather than minutes. At 6'8", he looks like he should be dominant, but hopefully we'll never find out because he probably won't play unless something has gone terribly wrong. Wingbacks. On the right is Winston Coombs, who's joined Chippenham Town from Bequila United in St Vincent and the Grenadines. He can barely defend, barely cross, but he can absolutely fly down the right wing. He's the sort of player who would get released by every club he trials for, understandably, but then somehow end up playing every week here because the system doesn't care. On the left we have French-Canadian Georges Saint-Grasse. He's technically a defender, in the same way a cheetah is technically a mammal. He exists to get up and down the left flank repeatedly and ask absolutely no questions. Sean O'Driscoll doesn't believe he'll ever be good enough for full-time football, but he's quick, obedient, and doesn't think too much, which makes him perfect. On to our centre-backs. Brzo Nikšićko joins from FC Barajevo in Montenegro, and he looks like he'd murder you and more than likely eat you. Tall, fast, aggressive in appearance alone, and almost entirely useless on the ball. He's here to cover space, win foot races, and generally behave like defending is a race. Uwe Schnellmann is a German centre-half, built like a motorway bridge with pace maxed out and everything else left behind. He's vaguely reminiscent of a young Franz Beckenbauer if you squint hard enough and ignore the footballing ability. Sean O'Driscoll thinks he could improve slightly, which feels optimistic, but he can run, and at this point, that's all we're asking. Dirk Schippers arrives from Topos in the Netherlands. Not that he'll ever get a cap. He's a bit like if Mickey van de Ven was rubbish at football. No composure, no passing range, no anything really except rapid enough to recover from his own mistakes. He's cute too. Our sub-central defender is Estonian blunder kid, Suur Korga Kiiristi. Not much to say about him except, yep, you've guessed it, he is quick and rubbish. On to our midfielders then. The engines of the team. Eamon Paldreith comes in from Hardwick FC in Ireland and will sit in central midfield doing an impression of a footballer. He can't pass, he can't tackle, he can barely see, and I don't think he even knows the rules, but he covers ground relentlessly. He's here to make sure the midfield never stands still and to remind us that mobility beats intelligence in this universe. Alongside him is Oisín McAtamney. This lad is from Northern Ireland and is functionally the same player as Baldraith, except with a bit of a different accent. Hurdy-durdy, soined as a poind. For some reason, Sean O'Driscoll thinks he might end up decent, despite having the same potential ability as everyone else. If he ever manages a successful through ball, it'll be entirely by accident, but he'll get to loose balls quicker than his opponents, and that's all we need. Our sub-MC, in case either of our Irish lads get injured or sent off, is Scotsman Grant Ramey. He's one of our youngest players. All subs have slightly lower current and potential ability, so he's hampered from the off. If he ever gets on, he will press, harass, and sprint into spaces he doesn't fully understand. A bit like Scott McTominay in a Man United shirt. Just realised I forgot to show you the sub-wing back. Covering both sides, Barrington Shipman is very much built like a man who has spent days playing five-a-side indoors. Once again, he has lower ability than his two starting counterparts. Let's hope the fans never find out his shirt number, cause they never see him in it. Okay, back to some starters. Soon to be everyone in Suffolk's favourite right winger, and I don't mean politically, is Oblique Farce from Jamaica. He's inspired by sprinters more than footballers and plays like it. He's quick enough to terrify full-backs, but absolutely no guarantee anything useful happens next. Think early Theo Walcott, except without the end product or fit misses. On the left is Cavante Lyles from Florida Soccer Soldiers, which sounds like a team invented for this experiment, but sadly isn't. He's raw, fast, and technically hopeless, yet somehow rated as an exciting prospect by the assistant manager. He won't cross, won't pass, and won't score consistently, but he will arrive at the ball before their right back, which suits me fine.
2, 3, 4, I don't want to go to school, 'cause it just isn't cool. I will break every rule, 'cause I am no one's fool. And it suits me fine, suits me fine. I don't want to comply, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'll save doing what I'm told, till when I am sick and old. And it suits me fine. Yes, it suits me fine. Don't ask me to stand in line. You'll be just wasting your time. You drink lemon and lime. I drink whiskey and wine. And it suits me fine. Suits me fine.
Cheers, Bob. Through the middle we have Thorarin Fljótur Hratsson from Keflavik, Iceland, whose name roughly translates to very fast son of a fast man. He'll play as a second striker, although we don't have a first one. I'm using the broken strikerless tactic, remember? Hratsson exists to burst through space, arrive late, and ignore everything the coaching manuals say. I guarantee he'll score goals, and tons of them at that. Covering both wings from the subs bench is Maximo Velocidad from Spain. He's got red hair, but we don't care. Everything about him screams speed, and very little else. But if you need someone to run very fast in a straight line, he's your man. Well, unless Farce or Lyles are available. And finally, Coelho Gama de Oliveira, better known as Coelho. He's a central attacking midfielder from Brazil, a country that has often produced footballers with flair, finesse, technique, and joy. Coelho has none of that. What he does have is pace, and an inexplicable amount of determination despite being edited to avoid it. The eagle-eyed action men among you will have noticed, as well as pace and acceleration, all my players have decent to very good determination. I made another video about this, but basically whatever you set in the editor is completely ignored, but only for determination. It really makes no sense. So that's the lads. Comment below which one is your favourite. Okay, so I've hopped over to Database 2, or Universe B, or the saved game, where all the players have the secondary stats from the FM Arena research. For whichever database I'm looking at on screen, I'll put a handy reminder image in the bottom right corner to avoid any confusion. Centre backs get 20 jumping reach, wing backs get 20 dribbling, central midfielders get 20 anticipation, wingers get 20 dribbling, and the main goal threat gets 20 composure. Not that I can find dribbling, since this game was coded by whoever was cheapest on Upwork.com. Anyway, we're nearly 20 minutes in and I haven't shown you a single result, so let's fast flick the flip forward switch and see how our bunch of high balance, high one other thing, and otherwise terribly inept footballers get on. Was Harvest Green 22 right about this second layer of meta attributes? Here goes the simulation machine. Broken. I can't click continue. One last trip to Mystique to visit Winston Coombs' mum and dad, like...
Chill, Winston.
Quite an impressively bad way to finish the season, 6-1. After a full season, Chippenham Town finish 18th. Not promoted, not playoffs, not even flirting with competence. Remember, in this universe, pace and acceleration were completely ignored. Instead, every outfield player was given 20 for the two most impactful attributes after pace and acceleration, based on FM Arena's findings, and it's not gone well. And this is with a so-called super tactic, or broken meta tactic, or cheaty McCheater face exploit tactic. But if the tactic really was doing all the work, then this team should also be walking the league, right? Regardless of pace. If pace and acceleration weren't uniquely overpowered, then this team should at least be competitive. Instead, this lot must have looked like they're running through treacle.
Not as slow as molasses. Tylerless? No.
And that brings us neatly to Universe C. Because if FM Arena's data isn't convincing enough for some people, then maybe the wisdom of the crowd will do a better job. Let's see what happens when the attributes are chosen entirely by Reddit. Home again, didgeridoo. We are now in Universe C, where Redditors chose what the players should be good at based on whatever position they play. Before we look at how this plays out on the pitch, let's quickly remind ourselves how we even got here. In the previous saved game, Universe B, I used the FM Arena research based on tens of thousands of simulated matches, and gave players what the data suggests are the next most impactful attributes after pace and acceleration. Balance across the board, then things like jumping reach for centre backs, dribbling for wide players, anticipation for midfielders, and composure for the main goal threat. That team did not have a good time, which brings us neatly to Universe C, because a fair number of people would likely have jumped on the special negative bus and spouted off, "Hang on, that's all very well, but those are just numbers from a spreadsheet. What about footballing common sense?" So instead of listening to FM Arena any longer, I went to the Football Manager community hive, mined on the r/Football Manager Games subreddit. I asked which attributes they genuinely believe matter most, excluding pace and acceleration. No data mining, no simulations, just vibes, experience, and strong opinions. I then built a database where every player had 20 in those Reddit chosen attributes and 1 in basically everything else. Same club, same tactic, same setup as before. The only thing that changed was what Reddit thinks actually wins football matches. Will they do better than FM Arena's secondary stats, whose team finished 18th after 46 grueling games in the National League South? Well, let's crack on and find out. Okay then. Now, unless I'm mistaken, nope, I've been sacked from Chippenham Town when using the Redditor attribute database. Blimey. Was it really that bad? Remember, this was using the so-called broken tactic. Any team would win the league with it, they say. Well, not the lads on r/Football Manager Games. You've come last, lads, and put me on the dole like... This was Universe C. The one built entirely from community wisdom, crowdsourced football intelligence, the beautiful game, democratized. For clarity, here's what Reddit decided were the 2 most important attributes for each position. Central defenders had jumping reach and strength. Wingbacks had crossing and work rate. Central midfielders had passing and work rate. Wingers had dribbling and crossing. And strikers had composure and off the ball. Everything else was set to 1. Traits removed, no funny business. Same tactic as every other universe. 24th, dead last, relegated, manager sacked. Absolute shambles. Not unluckily relegated either. Properly, undeniably awful. Bottom by a distance. Which is impressive in its own way, because this was the database that was supposed to reflect how people think Football Manager actually works. Turns out, if you take pace away and replace it with good vibes and sensible attributes, the entire thing collapses like a folding chair. So to summarise so far, the Redditor attributes team went down. The FM Arena secondary attributes team scraped survival. And both of them were using the exact same tactic that people insisted made my original videos null and void. Which brings us back to Universe A, the speed team. The one where every outfield player had 20 pace and 20 acceleration and basically nothing else. The one everyone said didn't prove anything. The one that was apparently only winning because of a broken tactic. After 15 games, by the end of October, they were top of the league. Not mid-table, not surviving, top. So at this point, we've controlled for the tactic. We've controlled for player quality. We've controlled for hidden good stats. We've done the thing. People keep saying nobody ever does. Everything's set to 1, except the attributes we're testing. And with that in mind, I think it's only fair that we let the speed team finish the season. Same tactic, same setup, same league. While that simulates, let's rewind slightly and talk about Reddit. Because Reddit had thoughts. Quite a lot of them, actually. The most common theme was this idea that the tactic was doing all the work, that the formation itself was so overpowered it could drag literally anyone to promotion. But the fact is the team with the so-called secondary metastats finished 18th. And the team with the 20s chosen by Reddit finished dead last. So I guess the tactic doesn't make every team win? Let's have a look at some more comments. When talking about my previous pace experiment videos, Bernie's dad said my results could also mean that the best tactic gives a huge advantage that can send an average rooster to the top. How about a roster with 20 for the crowdsourced 2 best attributes for each position? Oh no, they came 18th. Rare Ad 9088 argues that these experiments are always arse and says if pace is the only thing that matters, I should put everything to 1 except pace, which apparently nobody ever does. Well, good news, Ad, because that's exactly what I have done. Hope you're enjoying the video, pal. Then me old mate Graham Thompson chimed back in to say, all I have proven is that quick players with at least decent technical and mental attributes work if you use a broken formation. Well, how about a team with quick players but rubbish technical and mental attributes, Graham? Shall we find out? Since I have now actually tested this and edited the players' attributes, removed traits, gave them uniform, terribly low current and potential ability, and really have just tested only the attributes I care about.
Finish him!
And oh, Lee, yes, would you look at that? This is Universe A, the pace and acceleration only team. Same tactic, same club, same league, and after simulating the rest of the season, this is where they finished. First, not just first either, 33 wins, 5 draws, 8 defeats, 104 points. They scored 125 goals, conceded 42 and finished with a goal difference of plus 83. I guess they just kept running past people. Hey, I guess it's not just the broken tactic winning games. It seems pretty obvious that the fast ones are better than the rest. Yikes. 59 goals in 56 games? What? 20 pace, 20 acceleration? That'll do, son, that'll do. 59 goals, man. I knew he'd score lots, but come on, that's mad, bro. And look at this absolute lad. 36 assists from left wing back for GSG. Crossing 3, assists 36, boom. Absolute heroes, the lot of them. How about the cups? Wait, what? They got to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup by running fast, crazy game. Nearly did him too. I almost had a semi there. Never mind, eh? At least we're the league champions. Can't say that for either of the other 2 test teams. So, you'll be pleased to know it's time for the concluding summary of what you've just watched. I ran 3 completely separate databases. Same club. Same manager. Same tactic. Same league.
Chippenham Town are really quick, and Winston Coombs will not
Same players.
sick.
The only thing that changed was the attributes.
Mexico gives you a fright.
In Universe A, every outfield player had the primary meta attributes from the FM Arena research, which was 20 pace and 20 acceleration, and 1 for everything else. In Universe B, every player had 20 for the 2 main secondary meta attributes from the same research, again with 1 for everything else. And in Universe C, every player had 2 20 rated attributes, chosen by Reddit, position by position. One of those teams finished first, one finished 18th, and one finished 24th, got relegated, and got me sacked. Now remember what people said when I first posted this idea. You can't define if the results are because of the attributes or the tactic used. Results could also mean that the best tactic gives a huge advantage that can send an average roster to the top. And my personal favourite, these experiments are always arse. If pace is the only thing that matters, put everything to 1 except pace, which they don't ever do. So I did. Everything to 1. Pace and acceleration to 20. Same broken tactic everyone complained about. Same setup across all 3 saves, so it was controlled. And suddenly the tactic isn't winning the league by itself anymore, is it? Pace is. Because when pace was removed from the equation, the team didn't magically succeed. The Reddit attributes team finished dead last. The secondary attribute team scraped survival. And the pace team, well, you've just seen where they ended up. So no, this doesn't prove that tactics don't matter. And no, it doesn't mean technicals and mentals are useless in real saves. But it does prove one very uncomfortable thing about Football Manager 26. If you give a team elite speed and nothing else, they will outperform teams built around almost anything else, which means pace isn't just important. It isn't just meta, it's foundational. And until that changes, you can argue about balance, composure, work rate, and anticipation all you like. But if you're slow, you're already losing. Oh, and to finish the video, I wanted to highlight this comment by SweetDragonFly5667, who said, "I'm not sure you really understand methodology needed for testing. Stamina set to 1 is going to see a lot of players injured in the games."
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
Thanks for watching. I know I've bleated on about it, but please give this video a like. Please give me a subscribe, and how about you turn your notifications on so you can watch my videos as soon as they're uploaded. And I'll see you in the next experiment. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next. Up the Chippenham.
Thornbury Surface and Stadium, the bluebird soaring round Chippenham. A bleak farce and Cavante Lyles, like a double-edged sword on the wings. Horitson scoring every week, he's so rapid on his feet. And we all love Moyes Ramirez. If you're quick, you win, you see. Chippenham Town, Chippenham Town, Chippenham Town, Chippenham Town. Chippenham Town are really quick, and Winston Coombs will knock you sick. Blurred motion down the right, and Nixico gives you a fright. Pace is all that matters on Football Manager 26. Read it through, they knew best, but they completely failed the test. Subscribe to Baz Got Banned, or watch him stream on Twitch to see the Irish lads in the middle of the park run 100 meters in 9 seconds 56. Pace is 20, acceleration 2. Ignore the Reddit comments, they haven't got a clue. Pace is off, walk back and watch anytime. Until then, we'll be in Chippenham Town. Pace is all that matters in Chippenham Town. Chippenham Town. Chippenham Town. Chippenham Town. Chippenham Town.